Hello, my name is Del. I live in Florida in the United States, and this is my coming out story. I was born in the 1950s, and I grew up in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And coming out really wasn't an option back then because you could face some serious consequences. Typically, what would happen is your family would disown you. You might lose your job. You might lose your place to live. You might be harassed or assaulted. In some cases, injured severely, maybe even unalived. So you had to be careful with this. In some of the larger metropolitan areas, it was more acceptable, and the guys there were probably more inclined to come out. But in small towns like where I lived, it wasn't really an option. The first person I came out to was a friend of mine, and this was in 1989, and I was drunk. I came out to him because I thought he was gay like me, or maybe I just hoped he was gay like me, so I came out to him. And as it happened, he was not gay. And when I sobered up the next morning and realized what I had done, I tried to recant. And he played along with it, but I wasn't fooling anybody. The first person that I consciously and deliberately came out to was a person in a position of authority at my job. And the reason I did that was that I had fallen in love with a person I was working with. And this was at a newspaper. And I was a columnist at that paper among many other jobs. But as a public figure, I had an obligation to behave and dress and conduct myself in certain ways. And being gay was not one of those ways. So I wanted to talk to this person in authority to warn them that I wanted to have a conversation with the guy that I had fallen for. And if this conversation did not go well, and if my attempt to woo him went sideways, then I wanted this person in authority to be prepared for that. There could be some fallout if one of the newspaper's columnists was exposed as a gay person. So I had the conversation with the guy that I was crushing on, and he told me that he was not gay, but that we could continue to be friends. He took it very well. This was in 1990, or perhaps 1991. I had asked the person at work who was in authority to not discuss this with anybody because I had begun, or wanted to begin, coming out to my friends and family members, and I wanted to do it one-on-one. I did not want it to become known widely all at once. I felt like if I came out one-on-one, I could maybe control the process a little bit better. But, and this person in authority told me that he would respect that request. But a year or so later, I had other people telling me that he had not respected that request, that apparently he had told his wife, and the two of them were going to parties and becoming intoxicated and telling people. So I was outed. And I don't know that anything terrible happened to me as a result of that. I know there were jobs that I didn't get, and I couldn't understand why I didn't get those jobs. I was well qualified for them. In one case, I had a friend who was working at the place to which I had applied for the job, and I sent them my resume. About a month later, they mailed it back to me, which was odd. I have never heard of a workplace returning a resume to a job applicant. It was almost as if they didn't want to be tainted by whatever it was I was carrying. And I asked that friend later why did they do that? And she told me that the boss said that there was some concern that I would be a disruptive influence on the workplace. So, I'm not sure what that meant. It could have had something to do with the gossip that was going around town about me, or it could have had something to do with my column. I don't know. At any rate, I continued to come out to people individually over the years, and it got easier and easier, and I attribute that partly to, of all things, MTV. A lot of people credit Ellen DeGeneres and Will and Grace for making the LGBTQ community more acceptable, but actually, I think MTV predates them. I don't know if you remember an MTV show called The Real World, but they had gay characters on there, and that to me was the first real conversation in the media I began seeing about the LGBTQ community. So thank you, MTV, for doing me that that favor. And that, my friends, is my coming out story.